The light shines through the shadows, shining sublimation! This, ladies and gentlemen, is Manjoume's manga deck, using cards and effects that were only ever featured in the manga. If you want to see a real version of Manjoume's deck using real-life cards only, then check out last week's Dark Baptism video by clicking the card in one of these corners above somewhere. So this is Manjoume's Light and Darkness manga deck, and it is absolutely insane. This deck completely dominates meta decks. If you saw the video just a couple days ago showing off this deck, you'll see that it went against all of the tier 1 decks at the moment and made them look like child's play. This deck is completely dominating, and it is absolutely amazing. Of course, that is why a lot of these cards haven't been made yet. Well, one card in particular, which is completely broken. So, the main strategy of this deck is to get a bunch of your dragons in the graveyard, particularly your Light and Darkness dragon, along with your Dark End and your Light End dragon, as well as a couple copies of Senkara dragon, because its manga effect is that you can banish it from your graveyard to special summon a dragon type monster from your graveyard. So if you fill up your graveyard with some Senkara dragon and with a few big dragons, you can very easily pull off a very powerful field, including the manga version of Light and Darkness dragon, which can be special summoned, which is absolutely amazing. So not only do you have 4 negates on field, but you also have 4 destructions, because this isn't a hard once per turn, and then you have Light End Dragon's attack reduction as well. So this deck is absolutely amazing. Just being able to pull off a field like that, yeah, you can go into a hell of a lot. So let's just get straight into this. So starting off, we have one copy of Armed Dragon, the Armored Dragon. For this, I am using the real-life version because the manga version, I believe, doesn't have a card effect. So it's better to have, you know, the real-life version with an actual effect. I want this deck to be as good as possible. I like to do upgrades of the manga and anime decks, not just straight-up copies. So that's why I'm using the real-life version of this, the upgraded version. With its effect, it's not that great, but it is one of Manjoume's better level 4 monsters, and it actually has an effect. So when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can special summon a level 5 or lower Wind Dragon monster from your hand or deck except itself. So we'll use this card to go into our Lancer Lindworm. We have one copy of Lancer Lindworm, again, just one of the better level 4 Manjoume monsters. There aren't a lot of great cards in Manjoume's deck, it's just a select few that are really fantastic. Lancer Lindworm, again, real life version, does piercing battle damage. This card is just the best option, and I think it's Manjoume's only level 4 wind dragon monster that you can summon with the Armored Dragon's effect. At the very least, it is the best one. Next up, we have one copy of Golem Dragon. Again, not a great card, but 2000 defense on a level 4, you definitely can't complain. Your opponent can't target face-up dragon type monsters with attacks except for this one, so that's not too bad. It protects your dragons. It's a fairly decent card to have on board. 2000 defense. Unfortunately, with real life rules, if you want to put it in defense with a normal summon, you have to set it face down so its effect won't be active. That means that this card is a little bit worse than it would be in the manga if you could summon it face up. But again, of Manjoume's level 4s, this is one of the better choices. Next up, we have one copy of the real-life version of Dragonic Knight. With this card's effect, when the effect of an opponent's monster is activated that targets and destroys a card you control, you can send the targeted cards to the graveyard to special summon this card from your hand. So if your opponent would destroy something you control, you can just go ahead and special summon Dragonic Knight, which is pretty cool. He's a level 7, I believe. Yes, he's a level 7 with 2800 attacks, so definitely can't complain about having that guy on the field. And, you know, in today's day and age, there can be quite a bit of card destruction by your opponent's card effects, so having a Dragonic Knight, not a bad choice, one of Manjoume's better cards, and it is still a powerful dragon to have on board. Next up, we have the real-life version of Genesis Dragon. With this card's effect, you can send a dragon from your hand to the graveyard to add a dragon-type monster from your graveyard to your hand. That is, again, definitely not a bad effect. It's a level 6 monster, so very easy to summon with just one tribute or special summoned. This is one of the options that I tend to put in the graveyard after I've got my, you know, Light End, Dark End, Light and Darkness Dragon combo out on the field. Genesis Dragon is my second choice, because with its effect, you can bring back dragons to your hand to then normal summon them later. It's a fairly decent effect, and it has a fairly decent attack points, making it, again, one of Manjoume's better monsters. Next up, for some manga-only cards, we have Bomb Dragon. Bomb Dragon, again, Much like everything so far, we're about to get into the really strong stuff, I promise, but Bomb Dragon isn't the best monster, but it is one of Manjoume's better monsters, and it's also one of the only ones that I could find, like, actual artwork for that isn't just black and white from the manga, so I decided to put it in. I think it looks kinda cool. When this monster is destroyed by battle, the monster that destroyed it loses 300 attack. Not a great effect, but hey, it's not completely terrible. It's alright. Next up, we have, finally, our powerhouses of the deck. Starting off with the manga version of Burning Dragon. You may want to swap this out for the newish real-life version of Burning Dragon, which has its own special summon from the hand effect. If your opponent controls 2 or more monsters, you can special summon Burning Dragon from the hand. However, the reason I use the manga version is because it is really easy to special summon with this deck. This deck is just, you know, turbos out Dragon special summon. You don't need its own effect to summon it. And also, it doesn't have a cost for its other effect. When this card is summoned, destroy all spell and traps on the field. In the real life version, you have to discard a spell to activate that effect, and hand advantage isn't the strongest in this deck. It's not Manjoume's Ojama deck, you know, so having that hand advantage is much more likely in the real life version of the deck, but it's also, yeah, you don't really hold on to your hand cards as much, especially not your spell cards. You tend to use up those pretty quick, except for a few of them. So I just thought that the manga version of Burning Dragon, it's easy enough to summon and its effect is a lot more reliable. Next up, we have the main cards of the deck: Dark End Dragon, Light and Darkness Dragon, and Light End Dragon. One copy of each of those. These cards are basically very, very similar. They have the same effect as their real-life counterparts, but with a couple exceptions. So, first of all, Dark and Light End Dragon are effect monsters that go on the main deck, which is a lot easier to summon them. It makes them a hell of a lot easier to bring them out and a lot more consistent too. Secondly, they are not once per turn effects. Not even hard once per turn. Like, they're not once per turn at all, and they are quick effects. So with Dark End Dragon by quick effect, by lowering its attack and defense by 500, you can target a monster your opponent controls and destroy it. Since it has 2100 attack, you can do this 4 times in one turn if you want, even on your opponent's turn. This card can really mess up your opponent's board, and then, you know, you can link it out and then bring it back later to have even more destruction, as I do a couple times again in the showcase video, so do watch that. This card is insanely powerful, and I can definitely see why they restricted it in real life. For Light End Dragon, again, very similar. It's the same as its real life counterpart, except an effect monster. But in this version, its effect is a quick effect, and it can be used more than once per turn. Not as good as Dark End Dragon, but definitely a pretty decent effect. It's a pretty powerful card. You can reduce its attack and defense by 500 to lower the attack of one of your opponent's monsters by 1,500 points, which is a pretty decent effect, especially if your opponent runs a lot of powerhouses that you can't get over. Normally, you just Dark End Dragon, destroy them, but sometimes you don't have that option and you want to bring out your Light End, you can use its effect to reduce the attack. You can also use it when your opponent attacks you, as Manjoume does once in the manga, and yeah, lower their monster's attack to deal more damage and maybe finish them off if they're not expecting it. Finally, for Light and Darkness Dragon, very, very similar to the real life version, except a hell of a lot better. First of all, this card can be special summoned. It doesn't have the no special summon restriction that the real life version does. At one point early in the manga, Manjoume mentions that he can't special summon it and it has to be tribute summoned, but then later on in the manga, he does special summon it, so not really sure what the restrictions on that were, but it seems to be the case that you can special summon the manga version of Light and Darkness Dragon, so that is what we do with this deck. Same as with real life, it is also treated as a dark attribute, and during either player's turn when a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated, you can negate the activation by reducing this card's attack and defense by 500. Again, can only use that effect 4 times, much like in real life, but 4 negates of pretty much anything, that's gonna mess your opponent up, like really seriously bad. And generally you'll get this as well as your Light End or Dark End Dragon. And if you have this plus Dark End, there's not gonna be a hell of a lot that your opponent can do. They can, you know, use up Light and Darkness's effect, get its attack down and destroy it, but as soon as they get rid of it, Dark End Dragon's just gonna come in with his effect and really mess up their monsters. They basically can't use spell and traps to get rid of all your monsters because Light and Darkness Dragon will negate it, so it's a very, very hard card to get over, especially when you have both of these on the field. Next up, we have our main ultimate combo monster, one of the most broken cards in the game, but only in the manga, Samsara Dragon of Rebirth. Samsara Dragon in the manga. By banishing this card from your graveyard, you special summon a dragon type monster from your graveyard. So this is an absolutely must have. We need this card at 3. We want 3 of these, and this just really swarms our field with dragons. It is stupidly powerful in the manga and makes it incredibly easy to get out all 3 of your Light and Darkness dragons, plus more, as you'll see why soon enough. Next up, we have 3 copies of Wish Dragon. The manga version, again, a lot stronger than the real life version. Basically the same as real life version. You contribute this card, special summon 2 dragon tokens with 0 attack, level 1 earth dragons. Nothing much there. The only difference is that in real life, you can't special summon monsters after this, or you can't use them as link material, or whatever that restriction was. What is that restriction? Wish Dragon. For the rest of the turn, you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except level 5 or higher dragons with the real life version, and you can only use its effect once per turn. So the manga version, not a hard once per turn, and you can use it to link summon monsters. So essentially, this card is a 1-card link 2 monster. There are a lot of upgrades you could do to this deck to make it, like, even more powerful just with Wish Dragon alone. I'm sure there are plenty of combos, just like there were with Link Cross, which is why that's banned. But yeah, it essentially does a very similar thing to Link Cross. You can tribute it to special summon 2 tokens, and that makes it a 1-card, say, Heretic Seal of the Heavenly Spears, which is really strong dragon card, or a 1-card Galaxy Satellite, or Twin Triangle Dragon, all sorts of things like that. Even a 1-card, not quite a Nightmare Phoenix, not that, but still. It's a very easy 1-card Link 2 monster, which is just fantastic, which is why we run it at 2. Finally, for our monsters, this card really sets off the combo. We have Rocket Caliber. The reason we use Rocket Caliber and not another rocket monster, this deck needs 1 rocket monster for the main combo. The reason I chose Rocket Caliber is for its effect. You can special summon this card to your hand to its own Dark Link monster points too, which you don't really need so much, but you can tribute this card to special summon 1 Dark Dragon monster from your hand. So you can use this card to immediately go into your Dark End Dragon, which is a fairly decent effect, and you know, none of the other rocket monsters do anything like that, which is why I chose Rocket Caliber, and I think it's something, it's closer to what Manjoume would use out of the rocket monsters. Now, before we go into the spells and traps, which is where the real bread and butter of the deck is, just a quick announcement, the final announcement for this. If you like Manjoume, and especially if you like Manga Manjoume or Light and Darkness Dragon, check out these bad boys behind me. These are 2 of the new posters that you can get on my shop at senkara.myspreadshop.com. We have 2 versions of Manjoume with Light and Darkness Dragon showing its light side and its dark side. Very cool. Dark Baptism and Light and Darkness. These are 2 designs that I made myself. I designed them, I drew them up, and I think that they are pretty cool. So if you like those, check them out on the shop. You can get them on posters, you can get them on shirts, you can get them on mugs, you can get them on pretty much anything. You know, you can get them on pillows, all sorts of things. You can get them on any product that we have. Just go to the customize tool and you can put that on any product that exists on the shop, not just the ones that I have chosen. On top of that, we have more Manjoume merch in this. We have quite a few Manjoume designs on the merch shop, celebrating the Reign of Thunder series. We have, you know, Sunder no Chisei, which means Reign of Thunder, showing Manjoume with the lightning. It's pretty cool. We have myself dressed as Manjoume. We have the Manjoume group logo with a lightning bolt behind it. And we have a new design that I just uploaded that I drew again a few years ago, so it's a bit of an outdated drawing, but it is now on the shop. You can get that as a poster too, showing Manjoume with the Ojamas, which I think is a pretty cool artwork. So if you like any of these designs, do be sure to check them out on the shop, senkara.myspreadshop.com. Particularly if you like Manjoume, Light and Darkness Dragon, go for it. Check those out. That would mean a heck of a lot to me. All the money goes to support the channel, and I really appreciate it. Now, let's get into the spells and traps. So, first of all, we have 1 copy of Boot Sector Launch. This is only in here to add with the effect with Striker Dragon, so not really important, but you can use it to special summon Rocket Caliber, which is kind of cool. Next up, we have the anime version of Burial from a Different Dimension. The real-life version of Burial would work fine as well. Either way, it's perfectly fine. I'm pretty sure. Hang on. Yeah, up to 3 banished cards, so that basically does the same thing, but it's always nice to be able to return all banished monsters to the owner's graveyard. I don't know, you might want to swap it out for the real-life version. Either way, it doesn't matter. This card is integral to the combo. Once you use up the Samsara Dragons in the graveyard, again, you'll want 2 or 3 in the graveyard at least. You banish them all, special summon dragons, and then return them with Burial from the Different Dimension to your graveyard to use them again, which means you get up to like 4 to 6 summons just out of this alone, and that is really, really stupid. 4 to 6 dragons on the field, easily repeating. You can use it to, you know, refresh your Dark End Dragon as well, you know, summon Dark End Dragon, destroy everything they have, link it up, and then summon it again using Burial from the different dimension. This is a really powerful card and definitely needed for this deck, but we only want one of them because we want to search it out, and I'll show you how later. Next up, we have 1 copy of Dragon Ravine. This is just to get dragons in our graveyard. Again, main one you're going for is Samsara Dragon, or if you have enough in your graveyard, go for one of your powerful level 8 dragons, particularly these 4. Or your Genesis Dragon is another good option too. Next up, we have 1 copy of Dragon's Shrine, same reason, putting dragons in our graveyard. Same with our 1 copy of Foolish Burial, same reason, put a dragon in graveyard. Next up, we have a couple manga-only cards. We have Dragon's Charge. This is one of Manjoume's better cards. If a dragon monster you control has destroyed a monster, I assume it means by battle, not by card effect, but you can play that however you want. Draw 1 card, and if that is a dragon monster, you can normal summon it. So that's a fairly decent effect to at least draw a card and maybe summon a dragon during your battle phase. Not a bad card at all. Next up, we have 1 copy of Dragon's Scent. When there are 2 or more monsters on your opponent's field, special summon 1 dragon from your hand. This is the card where the real-life version of Burning Dragon actually gets its effect from. In the manga, Manjoume uses Dragon's Scent to summon Burning Dragon from his hand, but we can use it to summon anything. We can summon Burning Dragon, we can summon Dark End, Light and Darkness. Whatever you have in your hand, Dragon's Scent will get you another dragon on your field, which is a pretty decent payoff. Next up, we have 1 copy of Dragonic Tactics. You can tribute 2 dragon monsters, special summon a level 8 dragon monster from your deck. Definitely a very good card to have. We use the real life version, which summons from the deck, I think is the difference, but there is a difference. But the real life version is better. This gets you out, again, any of our powerful dragons. Burning Dragon with its effect, Dark End Dragon, Light and Darkness Dragon, Light End Dragon, probably not so much, but with the cost of 2 dragon monsters, you can special summon any of those powerful monsters. And again, Wish Dragon, tribute it, get 2 tokens, use those tokens with Dragonic Tactics. That is another option you can do. Next up, we have 1 copy of Duality, the real life version, because it does what the manga version does, but better. Duality's effect, you can tribute a light or dark monster to special summon 1 light or dark monster from your hand or extra deck with the same original type and level, but a different original attribute. So you use this to tribute your Light and Darkness or your Dark End or your Light End to summon one of the other ones, basically, which is a pretty cool effect, but also it allows you to special summon monsters from your extra deck. So you can go into Bells of the Diabolic Dragons, or Albion the Sanctifier Dragon, both very, very good choices. We also have Borreload Savage Dragon, which you could go into as well. All of these are fantastic choices to go into if you don't have a dragon in your hand. You can just go into one of them instead. Next up, we have the pre-errata, or the anime version, you might say, of Future Fusion. This card could be swapped out for Painful Choice and you would get the same effect, pretty much. Not quite as good though. This is actually a little better than Painful Choice, but with this card, again, we're using the pre-errata version / the anime version. You can send fusion materials from your deck to the graveyard to summon a fusion monster in 2 turns. So we use this in combination with 5-headed dragon to send 5 dragons to our graveyard. It will depend on what we have in our hand, but generally what you want to go for is Dark End Dragon, Light and Darkness Dragon, Light End Dragon, and 2 copies of Samsara Dragon. Again, depending on what you have in your hand, you might want to go for 3 Samsara Dragons instead of a Light End Dragon. Or you might want to do something else. It really depends, but those are the main things that you want to get in your graveyard. After that, you want your Burning Dragon, your Genesis Dragon. So use Future Fusion, get all those in the graveyard, and then of course use Samsara Dragon to special summon them afterwards and pull off all of those crazy combos. Future Fusion we only run 1 of because we only really need 1 of it, and also because I feel like running more than 1 would be kind of cheap. Even when this was pre-errata, it was limited, so you know, I just feel bad for putting more of them. Plus, Manjoume doesn't use it. It's more Kaiser's card, but yeah, so that's kind of why I only have 1 of them. But if you wanted to include more, that would make the deck even stupider, but it doesn't really need it. Honestly, it doesn't need it. It's good enough with just 1 of them. Next up, we have 1 copy of Guidance of Light and Dark. This is another of Manjoume's manga cards. When a dragon monster is destroyed, banish Light and Darkness Dragon from your graveyard to special summon 1 light or dark dragon monster from your hand. Not the best card, but hey, it can come in handy and it's kind of cool, and it's one of the Light and Darkness Dragon cards, so we kind of got to include it. Next up, we have the anime version of Magical Mallet. This card was used by Manjoume in the anime, and in the anime, it is a very fantastic card. you can add this card and any number of cards from your hand to the deck, shuffle it, and draw the same number of cards you added. So it basically does the same version as real life Magical Mallet, except it shuffles itself back as well, meaning you get the same number of cards. Basically, you just reset whatever you want in your hand, swap out any number of cards, and you don't go -1. It's a +0 card to swap out any card in your hand, and that makes it completely busted. And, you know, as you may have seen in my dueling video, and even in the anime when Manjoume uses it, you can actually draw this card back and use it again, which is really good. So definitely one of them. If you want to include more, by all means. I only have one because he only uses it in the anime, not the manga, and because it's kind of cheap to have more of them because it's really kind of busted. And next up, we have the ultimate card in this deck, the most broken card in the game. We have Miracle of Draconian Wrath. This card is absolutely insane, and if it was real, every dragon deck would use it all the time ever, and dragons would be meta. Any dragon deck would just dominate the meta. So, when a dragon monster is destroyed, set 2 spell or traps from your deck to your side of the field. Yeah, that is completely stupid. That is really dumb and is a ridiculous effect. So we use this card to set mainly our Future Fusion and our Burial from a Different Dimension to pull off that ludicrous combo with Samsara Dragon. With Miracle of Draconian Wrath, we also combine it. We can use it, you know, if your opponent goes first, you can just summon a dragon and attack into one of their monsters and maybe destroy your dragon, then activate it. Or, if you go first, you can use the effect of Striker Dragon to destroy itself, which will then activate the effect of Miracle of Draconian Wrath. This card is ridiculous, sets any 2 spell or traps from your deck, so even if you already have Future Fusion or Burial, you can pick any other spell or trap and set that as well. Next up, we have 1 copy of Monster Reborn for obvious reasons. Reborn is great. 2 copies of Quick Launch to get that 1-turn combo off. You use this to special summon your Rocket Caliber, which you then go into Striker Dragon. Striker Dragon's effect destroys itself, adds Rocket Caliber to the hand, and then Miracle of Draconian Wrath after the destruction. Next up, 1 copy of Return of the Dragon Lords. I really feel like Manjoume would use this card. Target a level 7 or 8. Yeah, that keeps happening. I need to really get command strips or something for that. Return of the Dragon Lords. Target 1 level 7 or 8 dragon monster in your graveyard. Special summon it. Basically a reborn for powerful dragons. But also, if a dragon monster you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from the graveyard instead. So this is a reborn for big dragons and also acts as protection, which is really nice. Next up, we have 1 copy of Shadow's Light, the real life version. Again, better than the manga version. Target a dark monster you control, special summon 1 light monster from your deck or extra deck with the same original type and level. Also, with the real life version, you can banish this card from your graveyard. During your main phase this turn, you can normal summon 1 light or dark monster in addition to your normal summon reset. So that is definitely not a bad effect to have. Duality also has an extra effect, by the way. Shuffle a light and dark monster from your graveyard into the deck to draw 1 card, which is great. And yeah, Shadow's Light, again, we just use this with our Light and Darkness or with our Dark End Dragon to special summon either Light and Darkness or Light End Dragon, or from our extra deck, Albion the Sanctifier Dragon. This is a really powerful card to just really continue swarming our field with dragons, but we only need 1 copy of each of these because our Samsara Dragon combo is just really stupid and we really want to focus on that. Finally, for our spells, 1 copy of Terraforming to search for a Dragon Ravine. Next up, for our traps, we have 2 manga-only traps that Manjoume uses. We have Lifeline from the graveyard. Select 2 monsters in your graveyard, special summon them by paying 100 life points times their combined levels. So that is really dumb. That is incredibly powerful effect. You can use it to summon 2 level 8s just by paying 1600 life points, which is like hardly anything in real life. So that's a really powerful effect. And we have 1 copy of Reverse Time. This card is a little bit complicated. Activate during your opponent's end phase. All monsters that were placed on the field this turn are removed from play, and all monsters that were destroyed this turn are returned to their controller's side of the field. This is basically just you reverse the turn, get back all your monsters, get rid of all your opponent's monsters. It is a very powerful card, a bit like a upgraded version of, what's that really powerful card that everybody uses? I forgot the name! Basically an upgraded version of Evenly Matched that you can use during your opponent's end phase. It is a really strong card, really powerful. Right, finally, let's wrap up with the extra deck. Extra deck is very simple. We have 1 copy of Albion Sanctifier Dragon to summon with Duality or Shadow's Light, 1 copy of 5-headed Dragon to use with Future Fusion, 1 copy of Bells of the Diabolic Dragons, summon with Duality or Shadow Slide, or Synchro Summon with Rocket Caliber. Same thing goes for Borreload Savage Dragon. Next for our Xyz monsters, we have 1 copy of Galaxy Stealth Dragon, 1 copy of 107 Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon, and 1 copy of number 38 Hope Harbinger Dragon Titanic Galaxy. Finally, for the Link monsters, we have 1 Borrelsword Dragon for the OTK, 1 copy of Galaxy Satellite Dragon for a similar OTK. You can use this card to make your Tachyon Dragon's attack points 107,000, which is ridiculous. Of course, battle damage is halved, but still, that's a lot of attack. Yeah, and it's a link to 2,000 attack point monster, 2 dragon monsters, meaning you can summon it with Wish Dragon. Same thing goes for Heretic Seal of the Heavenly Spears. This is a very powerful dragon link monster, being able to tribute 1 monster from your hand or field to return 1 card on the field to your hand during your opponent's turn. Also, if you tribute itself, it can special summon 1 dragon from your hand or deck, making its attack and defense 0. That makes it a very good card to get rid of one of your opponent's important cards, such as their normal summon, and get a dragon back to your field. Plus, 2 dragon monsters, summon it with Wish Dragon. Next, we have 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix and Nightmare Unicorn. Standard deck, you gotta have them. 1 copy of Striker Dragon for the main combo to go with Miracle of Draconian Wrath. 1 copy of Triple Burst Dragon, and finally 1 copy of Twin Triangle Dragon, who you can't actually summon with Wish Dragon, but it is still a very good card. When this card is link summoned, you can pay 500 life points, target a level 5 or higher dragon in your graveyard, special summon it to a zone this card points to, but it cannot attack this turn. Also, it has its effectiveness negated. So this isn't great, but you can use it in combination to go into your 107 or your number 38. Both of these are really good cards. Also, something to point out is that Arm Dragon, the Arm Dragon's effect, if you can use it, you'll have 2 monsters on the field to go into a Link Summon, or to go into your Galaxy Stealth Dragon. So that is all for the extra deck, very basic. The main thing you want to go into is your Striker Dragon to work with Miracle of Draconian Wrath. That's all you need to know, plus Wish Dragon can go into many of your Link monsters. So that's it for this deck. I hope you guys liked this. This video went on a little bit long, but there was a lot to talk about. If you want to see this deck in action, again, check the playlist either by clicking the card above or waiting for the end screen. Check out my merch, link in the description to see that, senkara.myspiritshop.com. You can also get this epic shirt. Everything we've got so far is really high quality, so I'd really appreciate it if you check those out. And thank you also very much for watching. If you like this video, you want to try this deck for yourself, let me know how it goes, let me know any changes you would make, and let me know what you think of the deck. And Manjoume, this is the final video of the Rain of Thunder series, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. Next month, we should be going into the new Pulse of the King structure deck. Very much looking forward to that. Pretty sure it comes out next month, so we have that to look forward to. Thank you all so very much for watching. My name has been Senkara, and until next time, see ya.